10 by Zoë Austin. 3 weeks ago, on her weekly trip to the market, head housewoman Crix had discovered young Gwyn slopping fish entrails into an open drain. Crix immediately recognised the girl's potential and offered her a position at Hendersley Hall. The next day saw both women, Crix towering above her grubby new ward, standing at the head of an ancient mahogany table in Hendersley's dining hall, its worn surface offering 10 settings of golden bowls and silver tankards. "What you must understand," explained the older woman, "is that they look like real children. They walk like children. They sound like children. But children, they are not." She tried to maintain a lightness to her voice. "We call them children because there's no real name for what they are. Suffice to say that they work for the Mistress, same as you and I. They are unhappy here, but it's best and safest that they stay. We give them the course meal, that will be your job, and it makes them happier to work here. Understand?" Gwyn, eyes wide, looked quickly from the table to Mrs. Crix and back again. She gave a tiny nod. "Now, Gwyn, there are 10 children. 10. You must make sure all of them are here and are given breakfast. Can you count to 10, Gwyn?" Gwyn looked at the floor. "Sorry, Mrs." "No matter. There is a simple way to see that they are all accounted for. Hold up your hands." Gwyn did as she was asked. "Do you know how many fingers and thumbs you have?" Gwyn shook her head. "It's 10, Gwyn. Isn't that lucky?" Crix tapped the tip of each grimy digit as she counted them. "See? So what you do is check that there's one child for every one of your fingers and thumbs. When they sit down, hold up your hands like this, and when you bend a finger, it will look like it's tapping one of them on the head. If you ever have more fingers or thumbs than children, that's bad. It means one of them is missing." Crix put her large hand on Gwyn's shoulder. "If that happens, you run and you shout until you find me or Houseman Charles. Because if one of them is missing—" She swallowed. "Well, that'd be powerful bad, Gwyn. Powerful bad." Crix took in and exhaled a long, loud breath. "Do you understand?" "Yes, Mrs." She doesn't, thought Crix. Just as well. "Let's go through it then. How many of them should be at breakfast?" 10, Mrs. "And how will you know that they are all here?" "I'll make like I'm tapping them on their heads with my fingers and thumbs. 10 fingers and thumbs, 10 children." "Yes, Gwyn. And what if there are more fingers and thumbs than children?" "I run and I find you or Houseman Charles." "You don't just run, Gwyn. You shout. Shout our names loud as you can." "Yes, Mrs." "Good girl." Crix paused. Gwyn sniffed, rubbed her nose with a frayed sleeve. "When they're all seated, what do you do?" "Give them course meal." "Yes. Serve from the bowl in the ingle nook there. Kitchen staff will make sure it's in place before you arrive. Give them 1 ladleful each, no more, nor less. You'll have no trouble with them eating. They love the stuff. Lick the bowls clean most days. After that, they go to work. Once they've started eating, you can return to your room. That'll be the end of your jobs for the day. Good luck, Gwyn. And remember, don't touch them, and never let them look you in the eye." 3 weeks later, and Gwyn has suffered strange dreams. Standing alone at the end of the table, she recalls something about a rat. A glimpse of a sleepy memory skittering at the edge of her mind. The children enter, silent as always. They take their places, and she raises her hands and taps each one on the head. There is a child for each finger and thumb. all is well. But wait, an empty seat. She finger taps again. Still one child for every finger and thumb. Whoever set the table must have made a mistake. She serves the course meal and, when they begin to eat, retires to her quarters, same as always. Next day, dark circles ring her eyes. No rats last night, but scavenging wolves with deep red stares, bloody bones gripped between their yellow teeth. The children enter. They sit. She taps, stops, frowns. 2 empty spaces. Gwyn yawns, retaps, sighs, resigns herself to what must be another mistake by the table staff. As she spoons the course meal into their golden bowls, Gwyn is aware of small aches in her hands. A week passes. Gwyn's eyelids strain not to meet as she stumbles beneath the weight of the course meal bowl. Each night has brought terrors more horrific than the last. The wild boars 3 nights ago were the last dream beasts she recognised as earthly. Since then, she has been hunted by creatures comprised of shadows and rage, all of them slathering and baying to be fed. Gwyn curses her nightmares for the tiredness they cause. She drops things throughout the day, has been unable to tie her bootlaces or button her clothes right. Her vision is blurred. She sees 2 pots of course meal sitting in the inglenook, where really there is only 1. She has to make several attempts at counting the children, and thinks she hears them titter as she does so. When she has fed them, she returns to her room, lies on the small, hard bed, and sleeps until she is woken the next morning by the bells and gongs which echo through the hall each morning, summoning the staff, no other members of which she has encountered since Mrs. Crick's, to begin its work. Every morning brings another empty place at the table. By the 8th day, Gwyn wonders whether they are being set in preparation for the arrival of new children. The 10th day comes. Gwyn's eyes blink slowly as she stands, swaying, waiting for the children. 1 child appears and sits at the table. Even Gwyn can count to 1. Staring at the child, she raises her hands. 1 child, and she now sees only 1 finger. It protrudes from her palm, a pale worm escaping a meaty paddle. She looks at the other hand. No fingers. No thumbs. Just a square pink oar at the end of her wrist. Gwyn whimpers, a strangled mouse sound escaping her throat. But no scars, she thinks. No scars, no blood. The seated child turns towards her and fixes her with purple eyes. Gwyn cannot breathe. The contents of her stomach sloshes, and warm dampness blooms in her underwear. The child smiles. She sees pointed teeth. Gathering what remains of her strength, Gwyn tears her gaze from the child and heads out the door. She stumbles down the corridor, attempting to shake the drowsiness that still enshrouds her head. She shouts for Cricks and Charles until her voice rasps. Nobody comes. Gwyn tries to run, but she goes over on an ankle and falls to the floor with a wince. She hears quick, light footsteps behind her. On her elbows, she pulls herself along a few more inches. Then, as small hands begin to pull at her skirt and feet, Gwyn looks over her shoulder and screams.